Have you ever been stuck trying to figure out why your React component isn't working as expected? It can be really frustrating, right? If that's you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into a common issue with setting default values in props in React. I totally get it. You create a component, and it seems like everything should work perfectly, but then you hit a wall with an error message. You're not alone in this. Many developers face similar challenges when working with props in React. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One user recently asked, "How do I set a default value into a prop in React?" They shared their code for a button component and mentioned they encountered a type error when trying to set a default message. Sound familiar? Let's dig into this together and find a solution. So what could be causing this error? The issue arises because props in React are read-only. When you try to assign a new value to this .props.message, you're essentially trying to modify an object that cannot be changed. Let's break this down step by step. And don't go anywhere. I've got a simple solution at the end that will help you avoid this issue in the future. To resolve the error the user is encountering, we need to modify how default values are set for the props in the app button component. First, the user should avoid directly modifying this .props as it is read-only. Instead of changing this .props.message directly, the user can use a default value in the render method. This way, if the message prop is not provided, a default value will be used. Next, the user should also update the setOnClick method. Instead of trying to assign a function to this .props.onClick, they can set a default function in the render method as well. Finally, the user should test the app button component again. They can do this by rendering it without props and checking if the default values are displayed correctly. Did you know? React was developed by Facebook and is now one of the most popular libraries for building user interfaces. It's amazing how quickly it has grown. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach to setting default values for props in React is to use destructuring. You can define default values directly in the function parameters. For example, you can set message to an empty string and onClick to an empty function. That's it for that response. Let's explore another one. Another user points out that if you're using React version 14 or above, the props object is now frozen, meaning you can't modify it directly. Instead, they suggest using React.cloneElement to set default values for your props. And that's all for that response. Let's see what someone else had to say. An alternative solution suggests that instead of trying to set props directly, you should use state to manage dynamic values. Since props are static, if you need to change a value, store it in the component state. Additionally, the same approach applies to the onClick function. By using state, you can ensure that your component behaves as expected without encountering errors. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always use default props for your components to ensure they have fallback values. This will save you from unexpected errors and make your code cleaner. And there you have it. By using default props, your component should work without throwing errors. Remember, understanding how props work is key to mastering React. If you found this helpful, hit the subscribe button for more tips, and don't miss our next video on optimizing your React components.